They don't write in English characters, they have symbols instead. And so everything is phonetic. So they have 33 symbols, basic symbols, and each one of those symbols represents a consonant sound. And then they have a few symbols, maybe 5, that represent what they call explosive letters. So you have like ka and then ka, or ta and ta, or cha and cha. And so they have 29 basic symbols, and those 4 or 5 explosive symbols that are used for different words. And then off each symbol they have 7 variations, and those represent the vowel sounds. So you'll have a symbol for be, boo, bi, ba, be, bi, bo, and then ke, ku, ki, ka, ke, ki, ko, and then de, du, di, da, de, did, do. So every symbol has 7 variations, and those represent the different vowel sounds, and that covers almost every single sound that you can possibly make. They don't have something for the, like th. So if you wanted to write English words with their symbols, you can't write the. There's a couple of other sounds that they don't have, but for the most part, there's about 200 and something symbols. I'm not sure what the math adds up to. 33 times 7, yeah, 231 symbols, something like that they have. And so I made it a goal when I got there to be able to learn how to read and write within the first 3 weeks, because I was only there for 4 months. And so luckily the area that I served in, we had a 40-minute bus ride to and from our area. And buses stopped running relatively early, or earlier than 9 o'clock at least, and so we'd have a little bit of extra time to study language at night. There was no language training, so whatever we learned we had to teach ourselves, and every companionship was supposed to have a translator, but of my 3 transfers there, I only had a translator for one of them, the first one, and then after that, it was just me and my companion mostly reading. So since I learned how to read in the first 3 weeks, and it started really slowly, and then I just practiced every day and built up until I could read, as well as the average Joe. And so when we teach lessons, we just go, and if we didn't have a translator, we'd greet them with what phrases we knew, and then we'd say, okay, we have a lesson for you. Can you pray? It's like, Insale, can you pray? And then they'd say, yeah, they'd pray, and then we'd open up the Book of Mormon, and the area that we served in was a village, and so most of the people there actually couldn't read or write. They could only speak, and so they couldn't even read it either, so we'd have to read for them. And so we'd read a verse, then we'd read a second verse that connects to that verse, and we'd read like maybe 5 verses and kind of throw in some words that we knew, and then we'd say, thank you, we'll see you next time. But yeah, so it's a really fascinating language. Like the name of the church is Yehualan en Kadusan Jesus Christus Beta Christian. That's the name of the church. The way I learned most of my vocabulary was like just reading First Nephi side by side in English and Amharic. So I had a book that I made, or just a notepad that I had, and I'd read words, and I asked our translator before he left for basic vocabulary. So he taught me like just the Holy Spirit and Jesus and God and prayer, and basic terms that I could recognize as I was reading. And then as I was reading verses, if I saw a word or symbols that formed a word that I'd seen before, and if I'd seen it multiple times in one verse, I'd then go to English and say, okay, this word was in here 4 times. What word in English is in here 4 times? And then I'd kind of piece it together until I had a dictionary of about 10 to 15 pages of just words and phrases that I knew. And so I made it through all of First Nephi, and then I left my journal in a taxi and lost all of my dictionary and all of my work for the past 2.5, 3 months, and I only had a month left. And so I was like, and you know what? I won't keep a journal anymore. I'll just try to remember it. And I wish I had tried to start a new journal, because I can't remember most of it now. It's been so long, but yeah. You say salamno is greeting, or salamno is for a male, salamnish is for female. You can say kenu detno is how is your day, ken is day, and then indetno, or in debt is how is it, and then no is at the end. You'll kind of, it just doesn't always have a meaning, but you'll just say no at the end of something, say like salam no, peace is it. It's kind of, they don't have direct translations, but see, you say salam no or salam nish, and then kenu and detno, and then if you want to know how work is, you can say Sarah and detno. Amaseganalo is how you would say thank you. Yegzabier is how you say God. Jesus Christos is pretty simple for Jesus Christ. Beta Christian is church. Bet means house, so it's just house of Christians. When I could give you like an example of ordering food, if we go to a restaurant, we want something. Let's say antipsfurfer bija. No, antipsfurfer ke double gar bija is like I want 1 tipsfurfer, but I want bread instead of the spongy material, which is injera. I don't know. I'm really rusty. It's been a long time. I used to go to, order food, and I could teach very basic lessons. We'd take a flip chart with us, the one that you see over there, and we just put through the pictures, and I knew how to speak enough that I could get through the first discussion. I could teach the restoration through pictures and broken phrases. Counting. You want me to count for you?
Sure.
An, tulet, sost, arat, amis, sedist, sebat, semint, zetain, aster. That's 1 through 10. And after that, you just add it asarant, asarhulet, asarsost, asarat. You just say 10 plus the number, and then 20 plus the number. And yeah, that's counting. And then I guess in the area that I served in, there was also a tribal language that was just as common, if not more common, than Amharic. So phrases for them would be like, instead of saying salamna, you say kero. And instead of saying how are you, salamnish, or salamna, or enuendetno, you'd say fayot. Instead of asking, do you have any questions when we're teaching, we'd say tiakale. That'd be for Amharic. And then in the tribal language, it would be datmanoi. So a lot of people think, there's not language, it's just dialects, but they're completely different. I mean, you have tiakale and datmanoi, and then you have salamno or kero, and then you have enuendetno or fayot. So, I don't know. One of the phrases that they'd use all the time is da'abusho, which is I'll die for you. That's what it literally translates to. But it's just like really, really respectful. And so you'd always just, da'abusho, da'abusho. And they loved it when we'd say that. If you get somebody who's like, quiero fallo, da'abusho, and they'd be, and they'd like start laughing, and they'd throw their hands in the air, they'd be so excited, like, Ferengi, which is, foreigners, like, Ferengi. Then, they'd be so happy that, that we said something like that. Super respectful. When you're greeting people, you refer to them as father if they're an older man, or mother if they're so you say, to greet an old man, you say tanastalin abat, which abat is father, and then tanastalin is just like a very respectful form of saying how are you. And so he's like, tanastalin abat, and you shake their hands really slowly, and just show them a lot of respect. Another cultural thing is when in Ethiopia, the way they would greet is you'd shake hands, and then they'd pull you into a hug, and then if they really, really liked you, and if you knew them really well, they'd hook their head behind you. And so there's a couple of people who just, I got to know really well and I loved, and every time they greet me, they say, quiero fallo da'abusho, and they'd grab me and pull me in, and they wrap their head around me, and they start nuzzling the back of my head with the back of their head. It was quite interesting. That took a lot of getting used to as well. But it was great. And by the end, I'd just see them, and I'd beat them to it. I'd go, quiero fallo da'abusho, and nuzzle the back of their head with the back of my head. It was great. So, yeah.